The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra. Are you trying to master the game of life without success? There are secrets and strategies to living your best life. We'll share some of them with you on today's show. Take advantage of this series to become an expert at relationships. All relationships. It's time to live the life that you deserve to live. Now, here's your host, Sandra.
Hi, this is Sandra. We are here at Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. Welcome. Every week on Straight Talk, I try to choose a topic that will help people live their best lives. And I noticed that in the last year or so that I've been doing this show, I have not gone to one anxiety area. As many of you know, I'm an anxiety specialist. I run the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression. We have certainly talked about anxiety many times on the show. We have not talked about obsessive compulsive disorder, as many people know, OCD. And yet OCD is a very big and very real problem for people. Furthermore, I wanted to do a show on it because even if you don't have OCD, you may find yourself obsessing or doing compulsive types of behavior. Even checking if the door is locked quite a few times can turn into a problem very easily. The thing about anxiety and OCD, and we'll get to talk about it, is it starts with a really illogical concept, and then it can get into trouble. So we're going to tackle this topic with an anxiety specialist. So I went no further than my own clinic, and I plucked out Georgia Dow. She is a top anxiety specialist who works day to day with people suffering with enormous anxiety and OCD. And I invited her to come back on Straight Talk to tell us and to talk about the prevalence of OCD, what people can do about it, and what are the dangers and the signs, and what's it really all about, this OCD thing. So welcome back to Straight Talk, Georgia. You are really a top expert on anxiety. So we're really, really happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always so much fun to be back.
Thank you.
So, and I think it's such an important topic. I think that many people don't understand what is OCD, what it comprises of, when should they get help, then what do they do about it? And those are all really important topics.
Okay, so let's start with that. What is OCD? What's OCD? When is it, when I'm in a hotel room and I leave the hotel room, I often will check if it's locked. Do I have OCD? I'll answer no. What's OCD? When is it a problem?
So really, when you have different types of obsessions or compulsions, what it is when it starts to, and you could look at the DSM and they have their own issues to that, but really when something is starting to affect your day-to-day life, and you are not able to go through with it anymore, is when you want to really check out, what am I dealing with? How do I get out of this? Because the more that you do something, the worse it gets. And that's the problem with OCD, is that, and people often throw around like, oh, I'm so OCD, very
it's become mainstream now.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Which no one that is dealing with OCD would do that, because it really is quite traumatic, because it starts off with being some small rituals and it grows with time. So after a while, it's bigger and takes up more time and more complex rituals. And that's the problem with OCD, is that without treatment, OCD gets quite worse and can really stop people from being able to live their lives. I have people that cannot leave their home because they spend hours a day dealing with different rituals and obsessions. And that already is way too far. You really want to start to catch this as soon as possible before it takes hold.
Okay, so that was a really great comprehensive explanation. There's a lot of research done on the OCD brain, genetic predisposition, and also some research that I fell upon I thought was very interesting, Georgia, is the idea that perhaps you grew up in a household where your parents were, for example, fighting all the time, a lot of trauma. And so you look down at the floor and you're trying to shut away from this terrible trauma, and you start to, let's say, for example, count the tiles. And this becomes a coping mechanism for not dealing with something that's so unspeakable or you can't tolerate. So is that been true of many of your clients, that they have grown up in environments that were very difficult and they developed this as a coping mechanism? Is that, in your opinion, a big factor in OCD, or is it just like you're just born with OCD?
It really is. So OCD is definitely linked to people that are leaning towards being more type A personalities and to anxiety. And it is your way of trying to control the uncontrollable.
That's important. Say it again.
It's your way of trying to control the things that you cannot control, and also to reduce stress.
So our brains think that this is going to give us a locus of control. And it supposedly is going to calm me down from an uncontrollable world around me.
Yes.
So it starts in childhood in most cases.
Yes, most cases it starts in childhood, young adulthood. It can spring up, though, even in adults. Like, you can catch yourselves and you know, like, can anyone get OCD?
That's a great question. So this is what I started my opening with, is that if I go back to that hotel room and check the lock once, I think I'm still okay. But I wonder if it's not like a virus that you, like, I know there's an OCD brain, we know this from research, but we also know that anxiety gets fed by certain behaviors.
Yes.
So it seems to me that if I kept going back and checking the hotel room and started to believe that if I don't check 4 or 5 times, I believe I could develop OCD.
Yes, and I absolutely agree with you, because what happens is that, so I have a level of anxiety, and then I say, I'm going to check that lock. And so I'm anxious because, you know what, maybe the lock isn't, it starts off with that, you know, maybe the lock isn't locked. And so I go and check it. Now, once I check the lock, how do I feel? Where's my anxiety now that I've checked it and it is locked?
Reduced.
And that's a reward.
And that's addictive.
And so now my anxiety's gone down. But after a while, maybe I start to not believe in myself. And I'm like, did I really check it? Maybe I didn't really check it this time. And so checking it once, my anxiety didn't reduce.
So, okay, so you're bringing up something very important for people listening, and this is cutting edge, people. Cutting edge, top psychotherapist Georgia Dow giving it to you right here, is that there is, and this is where it makes OCD a little bit harder to treat than other anxiety disorders. I think you're bringing up something so important. There's an addictive nature.
Yes.
So now we're not just treating the OCD, we're treating the addictive nature of the reduction in anxiety that I feel when I go check the door. So I check the door, I feel reduction, and then I want that feeling again, so I go back for more.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's hard to treat.
It is much stickier to treat. And the problem why it becomes so pervasive is that after a while, you know, say that I'm one of the type of OCD, which is very varied. There's many different types of OCD. Maybe it's arranging things and putting things in a certain order. After a while, just putting my cup in the order isn't enough. So I didn't get that reduction. So now I'm going to put my cup and the plate. And I'm like,
so it's generalizing.
Yeah, it's starting to grow. Like, I want to get that feeling of relief, but then I'm like, the cup isn't enough. And I'm like, oh, but if I put the cup in here, that's right.
Okay.
And now I have a reduction from the cup and this. So it's added a little piece to it, and then I got a reduction. And then after a while, putting the cup and the piece isn't enough. So now I put the cup, the piece, and this cup. And then I'm like, ah. And so it also kind of takes on its own life. And so it starts off maybe that you do, 4 taps on the wall, and then you do 4 times 4 taps on the wall, and then you do 4 times 4 times 4 taps on the wall. And so it kind of becomes like this motor that continues on with that so that you feel that relief. Because in our minds, what we're thinking is that if I stay, 5 feet away from the tiger, it's good. If I stay 10, it's better. More is better. And I'm trying again to control the uncontrollable. And because it is uncontrollable, it's always going to have to do more to give me a sense
Right.
of control over my world.
So I think that's the key thing that we're bringing up here. And I think that that's step one, to understand that the nature of this disorder is grasping at control of things that are out of our control, which is basically our lives. So you can
Yes.
understand why people want control. I mean, look at the world we're living in. You and I said we're going to talk politics this week on the radio. I don't think we're going to at the end, but God, we're tempted to. Okay. Is a world that's completely out of control. It seems very easy that if I can control my water bottle, at least I have something I can control.
Yes.
So I have a question for you. What's magical thinking?
So magical thinking is exactly that, though, right? Is that we can control things that we can't control.
So, okay, so here's the thing. I like that. So this is relevant because magical thinking would be, for example, if I tap here 3 times, I won't get hit by lightning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How is this different than superstition, though?
It's very similar. It's very interesting because you say, well, where does this come to? And a lot of the population deals with OCD, right? It's like, 2.6% of the population is going to be dealing with this. And I think that those statistics are actually quite small from what I see in my office. So what it is that when we couldn't control the world, when we didn't understand how the world worked, we created our own little rituals and understanding to it. And you can see how that would be beneficial. Doing something in a way, always knowing where everything is, or, what are those 3 marks on that rock? That means bad things are going to happen. And doing this, well, nothing bad, it's kind of also self-perpetuating because, nothing bad did happen when I made sure the water bottle and the cup were there. So then also that becomes that magical thinking of, then because nothing bad happened, maybe that does have something to do with it. And you can see hockey players and
not changing their underwear.
Or having to tap on the edge 3 times.
But we don't call them OCDers.
No, but it's a precipice of that, and how how pervasive it is in us, in ourselves, of trying to figure out things that we can't. The hope that maybe what if.
So do you think that if you grow up with superstitious parents, like, for example, who say, like, don't open your umbrella in the house, it's bad luck, or you broke a mirror, it's 7 years of bad luck, do you think that would feed possibly into this sort of suspicious way of looking at things that, like, or feeling that, because think about it, breaking a mirror, like, to believe that that's going to cause 7 years bad luck, like, we sort of buy into these superstitions, but yet it's, again, this illusion of control.
Yes.
But we do this with religion, we do this with lots of things.
We do, which in many ways, in some things you could say, well, that makes me feel better.
Yes. If it's working, good point. So if it's working for you.
If it works to actually make your life better, then it's not something that's causing a deterrent, then you can say, you know what? That's fine. But is there a link between people that are taught more types of superstitions and rituals to having OCD? That's one I am actually not sure of, but it's an interesting question. I would love actually to see the research if that is the case.
Yeah, well, I think that what probably shows up in terms of, I don't know if it's the rituals, but it's probably the meaning that your parents ascribe to them, is if they're fear-based. And I think that before we go to the break, I think we definitely want to make this point that you just brought up that is, I feel is very important to say, is if you're doing superstitions or wearing dirty underwear when you play hockey and you're winning the game and it's all working, you can enjoy the radio show, but don't worry about this behavior. If it starts to interfere in your life, that if the water bottle is moved in a certain way, that you go crazy.
Yes.
And we've seen this in our office. And we've seen, unfortunately, I'm going to give up an example when we come back of where, sometimes an off-the-cuff parental message could change someone's life, like take care of your mama. We'll talk about that when we come back. If it's interfering with your life, that's a problem.
Right. So if you can't go and play your game of hockey because you don't have your dirty underwear,
that's it.
Now this might be something you want to deal with.
I want to let you have the last word on that. That was excellent. We'll be right back with Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling. Bring your intimacy to a new level. and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Spa Munari is a full-service wellness day spa located at the heart of West Island, Quebec. Submerge yourself in beauty with one of our many treatments, specially catered to your needs. We offer facials, manicures, pedicures, hair removal, massages, body treatments, and so much more. Enjoy our ultimate relaxation experience with our spa packages. We offer a men's menu as well. Call us today to book your next appointment at 514-695-5040 or visit us on the web at spamunari.com. That's 514-695-5040 or spamunari.com.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
We are back on Straight Talk with Sandra Reish, a serious show today on OCD and how it plays out. We see this often in people. A lot of people are secretly OCDers. There was a big TV show a few years ago called Hoarders. Hoarding is a form of OCD. I have seen many variants of OCD, trichotillomania, pulling the hair out. People pull the hair out of their bodies and their head. All different ways. When you think about it, all anxiety disorders are different ways of trying to grab onto control. It's like holding that bar of soap tightly and hoping it will stay in your hand. It will not. In a world that feels so out of control. I mean, we're here in Montreal. A week ago, there was a terrorist situation in Quebec City. We don't expect to see those things here. And the political world is up in arms. Georgia, I said we're going to talk politics. We're not really going to do it, but I will put a little tiny bit in here. How is the current political situation playing into anxiety? It must be playing in.
Yes. So for people that find that what their hopes and dreams are being, decimated, if this is the belief system that you have, then you feel very safe and calm. But when something happens that changes the way that your fabric of nature of being is, that can cause a lot of anxiety, because anxiety is wanting to control things that you can't control. And so if you feel like you are powerless in a situation and for you feel that bad things are going to happen, anxiety levels go up. And if you're dealing with anxiety already, they can skyrocket. Are you seeing an increase in anxiety with the political climate that we're in and all the things going on around the world? Strongly so. Yeah. Like a lot of things, even for people that are not directly related. And it's interesting because when something affects someone, like something bad happens in the world, whatever that might be, proximity is also related to how strongly you are going to experience that, even if you weren't a part of it.
That's interesting. So you mean if you live close by to an incident?
Yes.
Yeah, so our incident here in Quebec City really rattled people here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we can say, you know what, it doesn't happen around here.
It happens elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so before the break, I talked about how, and I'm sure people will want to know about this, how as parents we can very easily make a mistake, especially in a climate of fear. I had a client many years ago where one of the parents was traveling a lot and said to him, it's your responsibility to make sure mom's okay.
Oof, that's a hard one.
Think about it. But it sounded probably like innocent at the time.
Yes.
But we have to be careful as parents. It reminds me, we should talk about parenting DVD later on, because what happened is that young boy took those words, as children do, very literally.
Yes.
And so he became, how do you think his OCD manifested? He would check the door, he would check the oven, anything to make sure she was okay.
Right.
But it started just on an off-the-cuff comment of, you're responsible. And I think we have to be careful about making children too responsible for their parents. And we all slip into that sometimes,
Oh, that's such a good statement to say as you're raising children, is that children should not have to take care of things that are outside of their level of control. And that also goes to the fact of leaning on children to be parents, right? Parentified children. And do you also see that with an increase of OCD?
Oh, definitely. Well, parentifying your children is exactly, it's a psychobabble word, we use it a lot. It's exactly putting your child in the position of an adult and sometimes even the parent of the family. And, I can certainly relate to that concept, because I think that often it happens not necessarily with evil parents, maybe well-meaning parents, and often it's a dance because the child is very insightful and mature. And so there's a tendency then to say, oh, well, they can handle this.
And they might even want to.
Yes.
That's the problem, is that often the kids don't know better, and they might be very good at it, and it might feel good to them, but they don't know what they can handle and what they can't.
So children really, to review, need to stay children. That's one way to immunize against like a problem like OCD or an anxiety disorder, is not bring them into our adult decisions. And I know, like, I have a very mature one, who likes to know what's going on in the household, but I also know she can overly get involved, and it starts, and she can get anxious. Like if she hears us talking about a medical situation, she can get anxious about it. So it's best probably to keep your children sheltered, not overly sheltered, but a little bit sheltered from adult decisions and things. Would you agree?
Oh, yes. And I think that's such a beautiful point, because I think that parents are often like feeling that, you know what, I want them to be a part, like it's out of love. They want to be a part of it, and I want them to feel like, they're dealing with that. But if it's a big decision, something that could happen, something bad could happen because of that, the amount of pressure on a child without that knowledge base to it can be incapacitating for them. And then what happens if something bad happens?
It's their
fault.
They'll
blame themselves. Even if you say to them they'll think, you know what, I should have made a better decision.
Well, that's, we fell upon parentifying a child, and that's really, when we get together, Georgia, I have such a good time talking to you that we don't really actually plan the show. We see where we land because we have a nice exchange between us. And I think we fell upon something that I feel very strongly about, and I know you do too, about parentifying children. So I want to pick up on that point. Yes, it can produce OCD. It can produce a lot of problems because children just want everything to be okay. And unfortunately, and I think we should bring up the fact that children are little narcissists. So therefore, everything good that happens, they feel is because of them, and everything bad that happens, they feel it's because of them.
Yes.
So we need to be careful, as we're not dealing with a mini adult, we're dealing with a child. And to carry that level of responsibility, as you well said, is that they will feel it's their fault if something goes wrong. And this comes back to OCD, because if in fact my parents are fighting or things are not going well, if only I had tidied my room a bit better or counted those tiles a bit better, this wouldn't have happened.
Yes.
This is part of where magical thinking starts, is as children, we are magical thinkers.
Yes, and that might just also go out to, I can't control that, so I'm going to control my room.
Oh, boy.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can't feel better in this home. There's no way out here, so I'm going to go inwards. And so I'm going to tap, and that focuses so that because I have to shut off from there. And so OCD is in a lot of ways a maladaptive way to self-soothe.
Yes, a maladaptive way to self-soothe. Georgia, nicely said. Maladaptive way of self-soothing. Okay, so in your practice, Georgia, I would imagine that you've seen mild, moderate, and severe OCD, because there is a big variance. And if you're listening to the show and you have OCD and you're looking for help, it is really important to know, we're about to talk about treatment, the limitations of each practitioner and what they can do. So if we're talking mild to moderate, they would respond well to cognitive behavioral therapy. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if it's severe, what happens in that situation?
Well, it really depends on the person. And OCD, it's harder. What happens with OCD and why it becomes so difficult is that this is a soothing technique that you have to deal with your anxiety.
A maladaptive soothing technique.
Maladaptive soothing technique.
You like that.
But I'm going to be taking that technique away from you in getting rid of it. So the way that you treat OCD is by not allowing someone to do their ritual or thought process.
Okay, can you give an example of someone you've treated? What was their ritual or compulsion or obsession? Give us an example, other than tapping, something, I'm sure you've had a lot of interesting cases. And what is the treatment approach and how do you do it?
Okay, well, let's say that they obsessed about numbers and they had to count numbers back and forth.
Have you
in their
had
head.
a case like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, which it's common. And they had to do that. And so what we would do is we would have to force them to do something else, a thought process that was not with their numbers in replace of that.
So if I'm your client and I say, I can't do that though.
Well, then we cut it into smaller pieces. And
Okay.
maybe they do it together with me. Whenever they see 2 zeros next to each other, they start, obsessing over this. Or maybe it's at night before they go to sleep. So we simulate it so that they practice, because you need to learn. But before that, what you need to do is, because I'm taking away a soothing technique.
That's right.
I need to give you other ways to deal with your anxiety.
Okay.
And so if you know another way to deal with your anxiety, then this is not so difficult, because you have something else that you can do. If and a lot of people treat OCD just by doing the exposure and then the response prevention, but you don't know any other way to lower your anxiety, so your anxiety is just going to skyrocket. And that's very distressing to that, and that's why I think that a lot of treatment for OCD does not get a great sense of benefit and reduction very quickly to that. So it is a slower process, because we're not just dealing with an anxiety, we're dealing with a soothing technique to the anxiety, and then we have the habit of the ritual that's there also. So even when we get rid of the anxiety, we're so habit-based, we're still left with the habit of doing it, right? So when they stop smoking, right, even though you get rid of the issue with nicotine, maybe every time you hang out with your friends, you want to have the cigarette in your hand. So maybe we use a straw or carrot sticks or something, or not going out with those friends. So it's a multi-layered kind of issue of how do we get past this. And so you really want to be able to write down what are your rituals, what are the triggers to that, when do you do it. So we also get that habit really well laid out.
No, I'm glad we're doing this show, because there are so many people suffering with OCD. And I'm happy to say, as the director of the clinic, we have well over a 95% success rate. And this is using a fundamentally cognitive behavioral approach, using a few other modalities in there. So if you are listening to the show and you have OCD, or you feel you're starting to get into that, or your child is well worth contacting us or your local practitioner and to get some help, because it takes a little bit longer than most anxiety disorders, but it still doesn't take a whole lot of time if you're willing to
really tackle that.
Yeah.
And understand the distress. And there's also other choices of medication and other things that you can do to also help if you're finding trouble with that. But, especially I think with OCD, don't you find that doing it with someone else, like when you're struggling with something, isn't it nice to have a partner when you're going through these troubles?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think that people shy away because of the stigma. But it seems to me you would really need, because there's a lot of shame with OCD. We're going to take a short break, but we've got to talk about the shame. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do the show, is that OCD is still like very in the closet. People have like serious OCD, but they don't want anyone to know about it.
Oh, that's so important, Sandra.
Yeah? Should we come back and talk about that?
Please.
Okay, Georgia looks emotional, so she thinks this is important. It is an important topic. It's a serious straight talk today on a serious topic, but if you know someone who's suffering, you may want to let them know about this show. There is definitely hope out there for your child, for your friend, for your husband. OCD, this is Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. We'll be right back.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats, and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Spa Munari is a full-service wellness day spa located at the heart of West Island, Quebec. Submerge yourself in beauty with one of our many treatments, specially catered to your needs. We offer facials, manicures, pedicures, hair removal, massages, body treatments, and so much more. Enjoy our ultimate relaxation experience with our spa packages. We offer a men's menu as well. Call us today to book your next appointment at 514-695-5040 or visit us on the web at spamunari.com. That's 514-695-5040 or spamunari.com.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
This is Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. Before we get back into it, a serious topic today, OCD, a serious anxiety disorder. Anxiety in general, before we get back into it, one of the things it responds to very well is taking time for yourself. So that's a nice segue to thank our sponsor, Spa Munari, who can be reached at 514-695-5040, spamunari.com, MUNARI.com. I mention them because this is a very holistic spa that will take care of you, take some time for yourself, get a massage, get a treatment. It's amazing. Georgia was talking about other relaxation strategies. Getting a massage, for me, is an amazing relaxation technique. And Spa Munari, if you're in Montreal, will offer you 15% off their treatments if you say Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. So call them today. Georgia, you got a little emotional, and we talked a little bit about the shame. And I know, you know, this is why I call my team the dream team because you're all people who really care. And I can see that when I said the word shame, you had an emotional reaction. What was going on for you there?
It's you're such a good therapist to see that, by the way. But no, it's so true. There's so many people that have OCD, and it is not something that's spoken about. Anxiety now, many people are talking about anxiety. It's becoming very normalized. People are not having to carry that alone. But I think almost all of my clients that are dealing with OCD, very few of them are able to talk about it with others. They're worried that they're going to end up with stigma.
And judged.
They're worried that people are going to judge them. They're worried that they might lose their job. They're worried that people may look at them funny,
Really?
may not want to hang out with them after. And it's something that, because OCD is so misunderstood and looked at as strange or unusual, and things that are misunderstood, people try to avoid. And so I think that that's why it's so important that we can discuss this and get rid of this feeling of misunderstanding or fear or heaven forbid shame because of something that you're dealing with, because it's not something that you should be ashamed of.
Right.
It's something that we need to let other people know that it's okay, that you're not broken, that there's nothing wrong with you, and we can deal with this.
Yeah, that's so beautifully said. And I guess that we also have to, like what you're saying is almost to look at it like if you had diabetes and you need to go on insulin, it needs to be treated.
Yes.
OCD is definitely not going to go away on its own. I mean, we say that about anxiety in general, but OCD, I would say times 100.
No.
It is not going to go away on its own. So if you're starting to see yourself checking or doing compulsive behaviors, obsessing about things, there's also an OCD, we should mention that you can have just obsessions, you can have just compulsions.
Yes.
You don't have to have them both. You want to definitely reach out for help. And I would go on record as saying that you want to reach out and find someone who's got a cognitive behavioral background, a specialist. What's the difference between specialists and generalists, by the way?
Well, so a generalist will treat many different things, and especially for dealing with OCD, I think that a specialist in anxiety or a specialist in OCD would truly benefit you, because it is very sticky and it's very many layered. The more layers that something has, the harder it is to deal with it. And so, you might want to ask the person, how many cases have you dealt with this?
Oh yeah, I want you to answer this. Like if I'm a person somewhere, somewhere in the States listening to the show, and I want to find a therapist, and I'm hearing cognitive behavioral, it's like new words to me. I don't know what that is. So I call up someone and I say, what do I say?
Yes. Well, what modality of psychology do you use? And some people, they'll often say many.
Yeah.
Because they've been trained in many different ones.
Is that okay? Or is that
which is okay, because they might be good at a few. You can't be good at all, though.
Right.
What's
when
your
you're
specialty? Rattling off 7, I don't know how long you've worked. Maybe if you've worked for 50 years, you can be specialist in 7 different techniques.
Do you think patients should ask these kinds of questions? Because I do.
That's such a good point. Yes, Sandra, yes.
I think they should on the phone. We should not just go to the therapist who has the biggest ad.
We take more time to buy a car than we do to find a therapist.
It's odd, eh?
And
we do our research on a car.
Important. You're letting someone work with your most vulnerable times. And if you have a negative reaction to a therapist, you may never go back to therapy again.
Right.
Right?
So I call up and I ask them what their modality is. That means they're where they've been trained. Mm-hmm. And if they rattle off a whole bunch, I may want to ask, what's your specialty?
Yes.
The research shows, this is not just us talking, the research shows that cognitive behavioral is what we're looking for.
Yes.
Now, you have developed some videos for anxiety treatments.
Yes.
I might know a little bit about them, but
you might know.
I might have heard of them.
So well. Yeah. Because you are also
on the videos,
co-director of these videos, and on them.
She's very cute.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, if you're suffering, you want to reach out. You want to ask your friends if they know a good therapist. You want to go on websites like the American Association of Behavioral Therapists, places like that, to find a specialist. If you have OCD and you're not comfortable coming into an office, or you want to do this in the comfort of your home, tell me about the videos and how would they be helpful for OCD?
So the specific thing is, when we were speaking about what do you do when you have OCD, is that you need to learn management techniques to your anxiety. And that's going to be first. So these videos go through, how do you manage your anxiety? You lower your anxiety. And you probably know, if you're dealing with OCD, is that your OCD will be worse when your stress levels are highest. So managing your anxiety is always the first step. And it's a nice beginning to your journey on dealing with this. So the better you can deal with it, the more comfortable you will feel, and the better you will be afterwards.
So, okay, so if I have OCD, like I know the anxiety videos work on session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4. Would I be starting at session 1? And what is session 1 all about?
So yes, you want to start with session 1. That's going to be your foundation. It's going to go through, all of the basic steps of how are you taking care of yourself, because you cannot deal with the anxiety, the OCD, if you have not dealt with your anxiety. And if you're not taking your basic self-care of you, then the techniques for OCD are going to be useless. And I think that a lot of people, when they're dealing with OCD, they've had it for so long that they feel really horrible about it and they want to get rid of it now. But you need to take all of these steps. And so it might make it be like, oh my goodness, but it's going to be so long if I first work on taking care of myself. You don't take care of yourself. What do the techniques matter, right?
Of course. What was the premise behind doing these videos? I mean, you're in the office. Why the videos?
Well, I think that they're a good adjunct to therapy, one. I think that, you're in an office and you're going through your therapy and it's hard to remember everything that's being said.
Okay.
And so the lovely thing is that these videos are something that you can continue, you can rewatch, you can remember, you can go back to.
Okay.
The second thing is that for us, we want to reach more people. We want to be able to help people. And so a lot of people don't want to go in. And I think that, as you mentioned with OCD, there's a lot of stigma to that. You worry about it. There might be shame. You might not want to go in. You might not be able to get out to go to an office to see someone. And so this you can download from the comfort of your own home and begin learning about what are you dealing with, why are you dealing with that, feel more comfortable.
When you say download, what does that mean exactly? What do you mean by download?
So you go to the website. And
which is what?
It's anxiety-videos.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you then get to select the videos that are comfortable to you. And then you get a digital download, and then you can watch them.
And a digital download, just for people who are listening who don't know what that means, like I didn't know until quite recently myself. I'm not proud. What does a digital download mean? Like, does that mean something arrives in the mail, or what does that mean? So
what happens is that when you click the link, you end up with an email link to that. You download it, and then it comes onto your computer.
Is it easy? Yours. Is it easy for people who are afraid of computers?
No, it's really simple to do. And if you have any problems, you can always just write to us, and we make sure that we take care of all of them.
Where do they write to you?
You write to anxietyvideos@gmail.com.
Very good. Okay, so so the anxiety videos would be a really great place to start. There'd be the relaxation, there'd be the breathing, and also, of course, this concept of not avoiding what you're afraid of.
Because that's a great one. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, in this case, I mean, avoidance in general is the friend of anxiety. The more you avoid something, the more your anxiety increases. Mm-hmm. In this case, like you so well mentioned, so there's something. Let's say you're afraid of acknowledging your feelings that you're afraid. And now the OCD, as you said, is a maladaptive soothing function. I love that. Okay, so now every time I get afraid, I go count or I tap or whatever. So I have to be able to face the fear.
Beautiful.
If I don't face the fear, I'm going to go back to the maladaptive soothing mechanism. But that means that I can't avoid anymore what I'm so afraid of.
Yes.
So you see, OCD serves a function. One of the things I find so fascinating, I'm getting a little older now. I've been doing this a long time. And, so I want my message, I want my time on the radio when I'm out speaking, whatever, to be meaningful. And one of the things I see is that people are, they've developed these strategies, these maladaptive strategies, because they're in pain.
Yes.
And we're all in pain. And there's, bad things that happen. But, they don't work, these maladaptive strategies. You need more and more of your drug. It's just like being a drug addict. Would you agree?
Yes, very much so. And when you're avoiding something, how do you get better at something? Practice.
You have to go towards it.
So the more that you do your OCD ritual, the better you get at doing your OCD ritual.
Yes.
And so if you're wanting to get rid of it, stop practicing. And that's an easy concept to be said, difficult to do. But in the end, that is the math, is that every time you do it, you're feeding the OCD.
I have a quick question before the break, just occurred to me. You've seen many patients, I've seen many patients. What's your opinion on the wherewithal of why some patients will do the work and overcome something as quite horrible as OCD. It's not an easy thing to live with. No. And some will just stay with the maladaptive strategy. What is the personality type? What's the difference? Who will nail this?
I think that it's not only personality type. I think sometimes you have to be ready. It's very painful to get rid of a habit that you have that is almost like your comfortive, your abusive friend, right? Your
abusive friend,
right?
Yeah.
It's the devil you know, and I think that it's scary sometimes to let go of something that kind of worked.
For sure,
right?
But some
because
people
maybe I'll crack under the pressure, right?
Yeah, and fail.
Yeah, and so I think that for some people you have to be really ready. I think that sometimes it's not even the personality type. Sometimes they're just not ready yet for whatever reason. And I think that sometimes it's that the technique may not be the right technique for you. Maybe you didn't find the right therapist to that. And I think that, hopefully you have that ability to know that you believe in yourself. And so I think that a lot of people that don't overcome or choose not to yet is because they haven't yet developed that belief in themselves that I can do it. And it's scary. And so we often think that it's impossible. I don't think that a lot of people even talk about that you can get over OCD. I think that a lot of the media pretty much says that OCD is forever, which is not true.
That's a really important point. And that movie a few years ago with Jack Nicholson, we've made humor out of OCD. What was that movie called? As Good as It Gets, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, we've made it into a humorous thing. We kind of laugh about someone being obsessive. And yet for the obsessive person, it's really quite tragic.
Yes.
Like hoarding, again, is a variant of it. So, we haven't acknowledged the pain. And I guess I think we should come back and talk about that. We haven't acknowledged that there's a solution also.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Okay, we'll be right back with Straight Talk with Sandra. We'll talk about solutions. We'll talk about how to reach out for help and where to go to if you're starting to be obsessive or have compulsive behaviors. You may not even know it's called OCD, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with Straight Talk with Sandra.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
We are back on Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. You know, I get together often with Georgia Dow. She's a top clinician at the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression, and we usually are laughing our heads off as we're doing Straight Talk. And I find there's a little bit more of a somber mood during this show today, and I can feel it in the room. And I think it's because at heart, although we love to have a good time, we care a lot about what we do, and we care a lot about people suffering. You really, as I like to joke, you don't go into this field unless you care. You go be a dentist. You make probably a better living. I'm joking, but I love what I do. But it is it is hard to see people in pain. And I know that you, like myself, feel a great sensitivity to the pain that people go through OCD. And you brought up something that I thought was very touching and important, is that perhaps in our media and out there, general sense is that OCD may not be curable. And that's not actually true. So OCD is very treatable, especially if it's caught early on. The earlier, the better.
Yes.
Not you were talking about to me on the break, like not like instant.
No.
It's not like 1 or 2 sessions.
No.
But definitely treatable. Can you talk about some of your successful cases?
Oh, it's been wonderful. Like there's been people that were, compulsive cleaners, and they had to clean, and that they could not walk into a room without, having to clean that, and whatever they touched, then touch something else. And it just became something that took over for everything. And to be able to have them talk about how they had groceries come from outside to inside their house, and they just put them away. And it used to be a 3-hour process, and they could just take it and eat. And it's beautiful. I remember having someone else say that they couldn't even pick up their child, that it had gotten so bad they couldn't pick up their little child, young, crawling child, and to be able to hold them again, how beautiful that was, or not to be able to be intimate because they've dealt with that, and then that feeling of intimacy, and that they've saved not just themselves but their marriage and their family. These things, and it does take time. Like that's the problem, is that often people with OCD are really hard on themselves, and because of how long it takes, and some days are good and some days are not.
They tend to be rigid, right? And type A personalities.
Very strongly type A, very strongly rigid. And so I think that because of that, they're very hard on themselves. And so they don't allow themselves that this is a much longer process than it would be for, like, say, a fear of the dark.
I have 2 questions for you. Question number 1 is that what would you say to a patient if they were to say to you, no, I just like my house really clean?
Well, okay, I love that question. I love it. So here we go. I would say, do you want it to be clean, or do you have to have it be clean?
I have to have it to be clean because it's disgusting to have a house that's dirty.
So that's that. Having to have it is always my red flag. When it has to be some way, when you cannot let go of that then becomes a problem. And so you say, well, what happens if your child is sick and you have to bring them to the hospital, but your house isn't clean? Is that going to cause you a moral dilemma?
So you're checking to see
how
if it's
strong
if
is
it's
this?
Interfering with their life, because if they can't bring their child to the hospital, it's definitely interfering.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you're listening and you feel you have to, like if you enjoy a clean house, that's fine. But if you could not handle it being not clean, or that's a little bit, we're seeing a little bit of that OCD tendency showing up.
Yes.
What would you say to a woman who refuses to go out of the house without wearing makeup? Could that be construed as an OCD?
It could be. It might be more of, it could be a self-esteem issue. It could be other things. It might not be OCD in and of itself. I would still, though, say, can you leave the house without your makeup? Because if
they said no,
we have a problem now.
Why do we have a problem?
Because
I want to look good.
Now
this is not me.
Now, instead of you controlling your life, your fear is controlling you, and I don't like fear.
Which will hurt your self-esteem.
Exactly. I don't like fear ever making choices for you.
Okay, so I have 2 more things for you after that. Go ahead, finish that.
Because even when it's for a good thing,
that's what I was going to.
There's
big line.
Always the wrong reason.
What's
to
your
do
famous
something.
line on that?
That.
I know your line.
Say my line. I forgot my line.
Fear-based decisions are not good, even if it's a good decision. If it's based in fear, it's a bad decision.
Yes, even when fear is the right decision, it's the wrong decision.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So then I would actually have the person practice going out without makeup on, because You want to be able to be a pillar that can stand within itself.
Okay, so we're almost at that point, and I want to leave with sort of, if it's okay, I'm going to let you tell a story about, so I know for a fact that, I'm going to put you on the hot seat, I know for a fact that you've treated somebody with like dirt phobia and turned into an obsessive compulsive thing, and I seem to recall you telling me a story where you were actually having to like maybe lick the dirt with them or something of that nature.
Yes.
Can you tell that story to our listeners? Because this is the kind of therapist you're looking for. This is the treatment. Go for it, Georgia.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I actually got that specific one from another therapist that was on TV that did something much more extreme than I did. But in the end...
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
Yes. I watched it on TV, and they were all people that were highly germophobic towards dirt and garbages. And so they did something that was actually further than I think that I would feel comfortable. And in the end, they did a group, these were group sessions, and the last session was, and this starts in pieces, please do not be scared of going to see therapy because this is too much. They went to a dumpster in New York City.
Gosh.
And all of them put their hands inside the dumpster and wiped up and then stuck their fingers on their tongue. All of them. The psychologist as well.
Right.
Now, I have not done that.
You didn't go to New York City.
But no. But I will say, like, if you are scared about dirt on the table, we'll touch the table with your finger and then touch your face and then lick the table. Yes, touch the finger and then lick your finger, because you want to say, and I'm always the control. So if you get sick, I get sick. And someone could say to me, but Georgia, you don't know that there isn't a disease or an illness on that table. And I will always say, I don't, but I do know that at this stage, your fear of what if is worse than the chance of catching a disease.
Oh, say again that last line. Thank you for being on the show, but go ahead.
Is that at this stage, your anxiety towards having it has cost more time than having the disease itself.
And it's hurting more.
That's what happens to it. And in the end, you want to live. Brilliant.
Just brilliant, and such an important show. I want to thank you so much, Georgia, for being with us here today. Can you mention again where people could get the videos?
You can check out www.anxiety-videos.com.
Okay, and if people want help and want to reach you and have questions about this, where should they call?
You can call 514-777-4530.
It was an important topic. Thank you for joining me and discussing OCD, and there is help.
There is help.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandra, for having it such an important thing.
Well, that's all the time we have left today. I'd like to thank Spominary once again for helping make this show possible. And of course, thank our listeners for listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. I'd like to invite you all to come back next week. If you're interested in our retreats, therapy, or anything that was mentioned on this show, check out helpforanxietydepression.com. We also have some amazing free gifts and our previous shows on www.straighttalksandrariche.com. If you want to look at the radio gifts that we have, Georgia's given a few over the last year. You put a /radio gifts and you can have all sorts of interesting things. Also, check out my Facebook page, Straight Talk Sandra Riche. Feel free to leave a question for me or Georgia. And by the way, remember to like us while you're there. You can hear this and any prior show as a podcast on my website, straighttalksandrariche.com, on the podcast app of your iPhone, and on iTunes under Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. And also, feel free to drop me or Georgia a line or a question at info@helpforanxietydepression.com. If you are a professional listening to the show and you're looking for keynote speakers or training on anxiety, depression, emotional regulation, living a purposeful life, remember that I am your source for evidence-based practice and education on the web and sometimes in your city. My name is Sandra Riche, and I promise I'll help you learn to live your best life again next Thursday, same time, same channel. In the meanwhile, this is Straight Talk with Sandra Riche, and I beg of you all to keep your eyes on the stars. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. We hope you've enjoyed today's show, and we'll tune in again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. Now, go live your best life.
Thanks again for listening to the preceding program, brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check out additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the preceding program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.